What's going on, everybody? It's GameUnboxingReviews here, and welcome back to another LEGO Marvels Avengers video. Now, this is, of course, the Phase 2 video. Yes, I know a lot of you have actually been really looking forward to this video, which I have to say is a great feeling. You know, the fact that I spent a lot of time working on these ideas, and you all loved them. You know, you said some really kind things, which I really appreciate. You even added on to it and said what you think could be better, and some ideas you had for yourself. I mean, really, guys, I really appreciate it. It's been awesome, and this video is going to be a big one, I'm telling you, because I have spent all week rewatching the Phase 2 movies, and trying to make everything into a mission, trying to take really iconic scenes from those movies and turning them into missions. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so first off, of course, we have Iron Man 3. Now, I've named some of these missions that I've done because I just thought that would be kind of cool. And I've called this one Showdown at the Roxxon Norcom. So in this mission, you start off with Tony and Rhodey. Now, Rhodey, like the movie, is armed with a gun. And we do see that Tony is as well, but he pretty much runs out straight away. So, it's up to TT Games if they want to give him a weapon or not. I think, now thinking about it, I think you should probably give him a weapon, because then at least it makes him a little more useful for the time being. But don't worry, he is going to get a suit. It's just I like to start the mission off without a suit, just because, I don't know, it just makes sense, and it was what was happening in the movie. Anyway, once you're in the mission, you're playing as Tony and Rhodey, the first few minutes will begin with you having to defeat a few Extremis soldiers as you climb your way up the Roxxon oil rig. So, just a lot of combat and climbing and building and things like that. I think this will be a really cool start to the mission. You're building like a ladder, and then you go further and further up the oil rig. I think this will be a really cool mission to try out. But of course, eventually, no matter how hard they try, they think, really, there's no way we're going to defeat all these Extremis soldiers and Aldrich Killian and save Pepper and the President all in one with just these guns. We're going to need backup. And then, of course, they call in the House Party Protocol. Now, I recommend that scene should be a cutscene, and I have put, a lot of cutscenes into this idea because, of course, I personally think the narrative is very important with this scene in particular. This part of the movie, a lot of the things that go on, they kind of need to be explained. You can't just have Iron Man here and then Rhodey here. It does need to be explained a bit. So if there's cutscenes, that'd be great. I mean, they could always do the little comic thing they had in the special missions in LEGO Marvel, and of course the DLCs and the 1960s missions in LEGO Batman 3. Anyway, once you have, the House Party Protocol has come in, we see Tony, and Tony gets a suit up in the Mark 33, also known as the Silver Centurion, which is one of my personal favorite suits in the MCU. I mean, I really hope it's in LEGO Marvels Avengers, because if you didn't know, that suit actually has blades in its hands. I mean, that would just be such a unique suit to run around in. It would just be so cool. So from here, of course, you have to take out more Extremis soldiers nearby as you're trying to find where Killian has held Pepper. I think this is going to be a really cool mission if they do make it, because I've probably put the most effort into this mission because there's a lot going on in this scene in particular. So yeah, it's probably the most detailed one I've done yet. Now, once you find Pepper, there is a short boss battle with Killian. Now, I know in the film, we see Killian, he's like, is this guy bothering you? And then he says the whole, you're stuck in the little turtle shell. I know that whole part happens, I know. But I think for the mission in particular, for a video game, I would rather have it where, it just triggers a boss battle, Silver Centurion Iron Man versus Aldrich Killian. That would be awesome. I'd really like to see that. And it could just be a short boss battle. Maybe you have to take away 5 hearts of health, or maybe you have to take 10. It doesn't really matter. I mean, as long as you get to fight Aldrich Killian, that would be cool. Now, there are 2 things going on in this scene. First off, Tony, once he's pretty much cut off Aldrich Killian's arm, he's trying to save Pepper, but also at the same time, Rhodey is trying to save President Ellis. Now, I thought about how this could work. I thought, should, the player be trying to do like a button sequence, where you have to press a button really quickly to try to save Pepper, or maybe should I just allow it so, it's Rhodey trying to save the president? And I've decided that would be much better if the mission, this part of the mission in particular, you play as Rhodey and you're trying to save President Ellis. Now, personally, after this, I think it'd be pretty cool if you get to jump across parts of the destroyed oil rig. Just like in the movie, you see him and he's jumping around. I think that would be I think this mission in particular will be a lot of jumping and a lot of fighting and things because, of course, you know, it is being blown up while they're all fighting and trying to save people, this whole oil rig is just crashing down, so there'd be a lot of jumping involved. Eventually you will land on one final container where you have to shoot the things connecting to the container, just like in the movie where Rhodey does it. He swings, he catches President Ellis, and then he uses the repulsor, and then they're free, they're safe. And then, of course, we see Rhodey in the Iron Patriot suit flying off with President Ellis, which is a pretty funny scene. Now then, that's Rhodey gone. So Rhodey is finished. It's done. He's not in the mission anymore. I mean, they could. They could keep him in. I would be fine with that because, personally, I really wish they kept Rhodey in because War Machine is just awesome. But, oh well. The cutscene then switches to the scene where we see Tony trying to rescue Pepper, but sadly, as we all know, she just ends up falling. Or does she? She's not dead. We all know she is, and if you've seen the movie, you know. From here, we see Killian insult Tony by saying, shame, I would have caught her, and that really makes Tony mad. They both run at each other, that really cool run, and then to Killian's surprise, Tony slides underneath and then suits up in the Mark 16, aka the nightclub armor. From then on, I would say just cut back to gameplay. Again, I know I've put a lot of cutscenes in this mission, and I am sorry about that, but like I said, it's hard not to. Because there's some really important parts of the story. Now here we are in another boss battle with Killian, but this one is much longer, so I would recommend maybe taking away 10 hearts of health, maybe something like that. And in this scene in particular, we only see Tony wear the nightclub and the shotgun armors. But I think what would be pretty cool is, you guys all know of my whole idea of hoping that suit-ups are in LEGO Marvels Avengers. Well, what if in this part of the movie in particular, every time Tony's health, runs out, so let's say there's 5 hearts of health in every LEGO game. Let's say there's 5 hearts of health for your character, and then once it runs out, the suit falls apart, and then Tony's got no suit, and then another one comes in, and then he's in that suit. That would be pretty cool, because then they could use multiple suits, and the action would just keep going. That would be pretty nice. However, I am not sure if TT Games are allowed to add all 42 Iron Man suits, or if you want to count, all 45 from Age of Ultron, but if they could do that, that would be amazing. Imagine having all 42 Iron Man free suits at your disposal. That would just be so cool. Anyway, once you have finally defeated Killian and reduced all his health, the cutscene plays where we see the Mark 42 fly in, crash into a pole, and then be used to blow up Killian. Or so we think. That's what we think, but it didn't happen, did it? We all know that. Now, I know, I've put in a lot of boss battles with this, but I just thought, since this scene was so action-packed, I wanted to put as much combat in it as possible, because it's one of my favourite Iron Man moments. Even if Iron Man 3 is not the best Iron Man movie ever, this is one of my favourite moments, because it's just so cool. There's just so much going on at once. Once the oil rig has been completely destroyed, we see Tony and Killian on the ground, and then, Pepper. We see Pepper is alive, everyone's shocked, and she takes out Killian in one hit. Now, that's cool and all, and I like that in the film, but personally, I think it would be really cool if instead of just rushing into it and just giving Pepper that final, blast on Killian and, killing him, I think it would be pretty cool if instead there's a decent-sized final battle with Tony and Pepper. Versus a battle-damaged Killian. Can you imagine that? You've got Tony in all his suits, and then you've got Pepper, and she's got, the Iron Man gauntlet and everything, and she's got the Extremis abilities. That would be extremely cool. I really hope they do that, because, Pepper was in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, and we could play as her, and we could play as Rescue, but if we could play as Extremis Pepper as well, that would be awesome. Alright, so next up, of course, is Thor: The Dark World. Now, with Thor: The Dark World, I actually have 2 ideas in mind for this movie. And I did have a few more ideas in mind for Iron Man 3, but I just thought, that was my favourite part of the film, and I don't think there could be any other better scene in that film that could be more fun in gameplay. So that's why I decided to just have, the House Party Protocol scene. Anyway, let's talk about Thor. So, with Thor: The Dark World, the first mission I thought of, I've called it the Battle of Vanaheim. Now, this is a very short scene in the beginning of the movie, but I just thought it was really cool, because it had this whole big war kind of feeling to it. It was really cool. And basically, I think how the mission should start is there's a cutscene of Sif fighting off the enemies, all the marauders, and all of a sudden Thor comes down and she's like, I've got this under control, and then he's like, is that why everything's on fire? And, just something like that. I think that would be really cool. Just recreate that would be really nice, because that was a cool scene. And then, you know, that starts the mission, and then you're playing as Thor and Sif, and you're fighting off marauders and things, and that's just going to be a lot of fun. I think that'd be really cool. They could, of course, I actually thought maybe they build a cannon, or maybe they have to build something that, like, stops even more marauders coming in, you know, just to give that whole war feeling would be pretty cool. And eventually, in that scene in the movie, we see the Warriors 3 come in, you know, they all come in and they help Thor and Sif. And then, you know, it kind of slows down the pace, and then pretty much that's the end of it. And, of course, Korg comes in. Now, you're probably thinking, who is Korg? I've never heard of that character before. Well, as you can see here, this big rock monster is Korg. He actually has a name, and it's pretty cool. And I think it would be really nice if he's playable. I know he's a completely random character, and barely anyone will probably know about him from the actual movies. He is in the comics, but from the actual movies, I still think it'd be pretty cool to run around as him. I mean, it just looks cool. And again, what I said, I think I said this in the previous, you know, Phase 1 video as well. You know, when you're writing these ideas, you've kind of got to change parts of the film. Sometimes for the better, and sometimes just because you have to. And what I've thought about for this is I always like to give each movie a boss battle. At least one boss battle each, because I just think boss battles are really cool, and they're a very iconic part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So instead of Thor just, you know, swinging the hammer and destroying Korg in one big hit, I think it'd be really cool if there's a huge boss battle between Korg, the Warriors 3, and Sif and Thor. You know, that would just be really cool. Like, all these soldiers trying to defeat this big, giant rock monster. I would really like that. I think that'd be nice. I mean, you know, they don't have to do that, and if I had to choose, I think I would probably choose my other idea more, but this was just something I thought of while I was watching the beginning of the movie. Alright, so my next and of course final idea for Thor the Dark World is Thor versus Malekith. Now in this mission you play as Thor as you fight off Malekith and his Dark Elf army. One of the things I really like about this scene in particular is not only are they fighting each other, they're teleporting to different locations. They're going to London, Svartalfheim, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and Jotunheim, which is really cool. I mean, they're just teleporting all over the place and fighting. I really like that whole thing. Speaking of Jotunheim, whatever happened to that beast that came out of it? Did anyone catch that thing? I mean, I hope there's a comic book that explains it, because if not, that thing is going to cause a lot of damage to London. So hopefully, you know, there's a comic where Thor picks it up and takes it back to Jotunheim. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comment section below, as I'd be really interested to know. Anyway, you're probably thinking, what about the co-op partner? Well, it took a while to think about. I had to rewatch the scene a few times to get the idea of how that could work, but to be honest, it was right in front of me the whole time. Darcy, Jane, Eric, and the other guy I can't remember the name of, they're all planting devices to reduce the amount of Dark Elves from spawning. That is exactly what you should do in game, you know, that's perfect. You just, let's say there's 5 you need to build. You use the Lego bricks that are there, or maybe you have to smash things. Maybe Thor has to smash parts of the building that was destroyed in London, and then that creates Lego bricks, and you can use those to build more devices. And once you build all 5 devices, Dark Elves stop spawning. This is really great because, for one, the Dark Elves, once they stop spawning, you know, they'll stop hitting you, and then you'll, you know, when you get hit in a Lego game, your studs disappear, you know, you lose some studs. So that'll be helping you, you know, you'll be able to keep your studs. Not only that, though, you'll also be helping the other player, because they will be able to focus on taking down Malekith, rather than having to deal with Dark Elves in the process. I know this is, you know, a small idea compared to the Iron Man 3 one, but this was kind of a tricky one to think of. And don't worry, the ideas do get bigger after this. It's just, Thor the Dark World was quite a tricky one to think about, but I at least hope you enjoyed listening to my ideas, because it was fun going back and watching this film, and, you know, I do hope they use some of the content for it in LEGO Marvels Avengers. Alright, so next up we're going to be talking about probably one of my personal favourite Marvel movies of all time, not just Phase 2. This movie has to be one of my top 10 Marvel films. I mean, it's just brilliant. And, you know, the Russo brothers, the fact that they're doing Civil War and Infinity War, I have no issues at all. I mean, the future for Marvel is bright. With those two involved, yeah, you know, they're going to do an amazing job, and I can't wait for Civil War and Infinity War. I mean, those guys in charge of Spider-Man in Civil War, I have no problems at all with that. That's going to be amazing. Anyway, in this mission, you play as Captain America and Black Widow as you attempt to board the Lumarium Star. Now, in the movie, we only see Cap fly down as everyone else uses a parachute. Now, obviously, you know, in this mission, you'd be playing as Black Widow and Cap, and there'd be a lot of focus on both of them. You know, it wouldn't be one over the other. It is a co-op game, so you will be playing with both Cap and Widow, and that would be a focus. However, just for this one part of the, the movie, this one part of the mission, I'd really like to see most of the attention focused on Cap and being allowed, allowing the player to be allowed to actually skydive down into the ocean and then you land in the water. I just think that would be really cool because that was one of my favorite parts of the beginning of the movie because, they were all like, was he wearing a parachute? No, he wasn't. It was just really cool. So why not actually be able to do it for yourself? That would be interesting. Anyway, once you are, in the water, you'll of course have to swim on board to the Lumarium Star, and then you'll meet up with Widow. Now from here, just like the film, you'll see Cap and Widow and they're fighting separate enemies, all that good stuff. And eventually you will meet up with Rumlow. Now I'm not sure if I would allow you to play as Rumlow because of course he didn't really do that much in that scene. He does a lot more in the rest of the film, definitely. But I don't know, I mean, I definitely think Rumlow should be playable because he was a cool character, and of course we all know what's coming for that character, Crossbones. I mean, who doesn't want to play as Crossbones? That'd just be awesome. So yeah, if they wanted to give that character, if they want to make him playable as well, then yeah, sure, do that. But anyway, once you've rescued all the S.H.I.E.L.D. hostages, there would be a face-off between Cap and Batroc. I just think this would be really cool. I mean, here's how I think it could play out. So basically there are two parts of the fight. In the first part you only need to take down 5 hearts of Batroc's health. Once you've done this, we see the scene where Batroc says, "I thought you were more than a shield," and then Cap takes his helmet off and I think he says, "We'll see," or something like that. And when he takes his helmet off, I just think it would be so cool if you do that in game. So the first the first fight, you're fighting with the shield and you got your helmet on, and then once you've done that, it plays a cutscene, and then you're fighting him again without the shield and without your helmet on. I just think that would be really cool and definitely tie into the actual movie. So yeah, why not? That would be great. And then anyway, of course, like I said, this is a 2-part fight, and that 2-part fight would lead to a much longer fight. So once Cap does take his helmet and puts his shield behind his back, the fight would be, I would say, you would have to take away 10 hearts of health, because then, if you want to make it harder, the more you fight him, I would say 10 is the maximum. I don't think they've ever done more than that. They might have done 15, but 10 is the maximum I've seen. And that's pretty much at the end of the mission, I mean, of course, in the film, we see Widow stealing S.H.I.E.L.D. intel, so maybe you and Cap go into this little room and you do that just quickly, and then that's the end of the mission. But honestly, I think the whole thing with Batroc would be the coolest thing. But yeah, I mean, this was a fun one to write. I really like it, and I think it would be really cool to fight Batroc, because that was such a cool scene in the movie, and George St. Pierre did a great job as that character. I mean, I hope we see him again one day, because he did such a good job. It was really cool. Alright, so my final Captain America the Winter Soldier idea is called Taking Down Hydra. This one I had a lot of fun making. What I did with this one is I kind of twisted the story quite a bit. Certain scenes happened before others because, I wanted to make it more like a mission, and I was kind of looking back on other LEGO levels that we've seen in the past and just trying to get a rough idea of how they could plan it out in-game. Because you got to think realistically, because I could be doing these videos for no reason and they might not even be in the game. This is me just going off what I'm hoping, and of course that little tease that Arthur Parsons gave. But hopefully, there is Phase 1 and Phase 2 content, because it would really impact the game and just make it that much of a better game. And, we'll soon see soon enough, because we'll see at E3. Anyway, let's get to the actual mission. So in this mission you play as Captain America and Falcon as you attempt to bring down the deadly Hydra-controlled helicarriers, crashing down to the ground just like in the film, of course. Now when playing as Cap, it's your job to take out any enemies along the way. However, while Falcon can do the same, you can have him fight and you could use his guns and everything, I think his main priority should be to disable drones, turrets, missile launchers, anything that gets in the way of Cap and Falcon. It's Falcon's job to take out those things. You could also do it with Cap as well, of course, because, his shield is really useful and he throws it into a bunch of stuff in the film. So, yeah, it could work either way, but I really wanted to try and get a mission in here with Falcon, because Falcon was one of the coolest moments in the whole film. When you see him flying around and everything, it was just awesome, and I cannot wait to see him in Civil War. I mean, Anthony Mackie does a great job as Sam Wilson, so yeah, the more Falcon the merrier. And if they don't do these kind of features in game, I at least hope Falcon is in the game with his SMGs, which of course would just be Lego guns, but you know what I mean, that would just be really cool. Anyway, once you've done all that, you know, I would say that is on deck, and on deck of the shield helicarrier, of course, and then like you would go further and further in, and you would go inside an interior of the helicarrier. Now from here, you'll of course have to put the chips in. Now in the film, I think Cap puts in 2, and I think Falcon puts in 2 as well. So they would probably have to change that slightly, but it would be cool to say, you know, you have to go to certain locations on the helicarrier, and then you've got to put the chips in. That could work. Eventually, though, you will come across a boss battle with Brock Rumlow. This is just a short boss battle because it's, you know, it's just Brock Rumlow. I mean, I know with the Batroc idea, I made it a bit longer, but I thought that scene was, you know, it was more of a fight. Like in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Brock isn't Crossbones yet. He's just one of Hydra's lieutenants, sort of thing. So he isn't the toughest guy. I mean, he was tough in the film. He was a cool character and one you liked, but he wasn't really up to the standards of like Batroc, if you know what I mean. Anyway, once you have defeated Brock, of course, you know, it plays a cutscene, which leads to a second and final boss battle with Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier. Now, this one I think would be really cool, you know, where you have to take away at least 10 hearts of health. This should be quite a decent sized mission because, of course, you know, this was a very iconic scene from the film, and sadly I had to change quite a few things because it is a Lego game. You know, I don't think you could have it as emotional as the way it was shown in the film, because it was just done so well. You know, you could really see that Steve was just trying, he wasn't fighting the Winter Soldier, he was trying to get his friend Bucky back, and that was very good writing and very good directing, and of course brilliant acting. But in my version of this, I decided to put Falcon in it because I think it would be really cool if it's Falcon and Captain America versus the Winter Soldier. I just think that would be really cool, and I know it's different from the movie, but, you know, like I said, sometimes you've got to change these things, sometimes for the better, and sometimes just because you have to. And that's pretty much it for the Winter Soldier. I mean, next up is Guardians of the Galaxy, which I had so much fun writing. But, you know, the Winter Soldier is an amazing movie. And if we get some content from this film, like, you know, Cap's suits, Falcon, Brock Rumlow, Batroc, you know, all these great things, that would be amazing. Alright, so the final Phase 2 movie I'm going to be talking about today is, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't the last Phase 2 movie, I know. In fact, we haven't finished Phase 2 yet. Age of Ultron's just come out. Obviously, I won't be talking about that because that is a part of the main story. And Ant-Man, which I really wanted to do an idea on, but since I haven't actually seen the film, it's kind of impossible. So, yeah, sadly, I haven't been able to do an idea for that one. But anyway, for Guardians of the Galaxy, the first idea I have in mind is called Escaping the Kiln, which was, of course, a great scene in the movie where they were trying to escape the prison, which I just loved. So in this mission you play Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket, Groot and Drax, all in their prison attire. I think it would be really cool if you actually, you know, they're wearing their prison clothes just like in the movie, because then it gives the game an exclusive variant for those characters, because of course you can't get Lego minifigures of them in the prison uniform, and I just thought that would be cool. But of course, you know, you would be able to unlock the different versions of them as well, and, you know, if they wanted to, then they could, I guess they could also add comic book versions as well, but, you know, it's completely up to them, and I love seeing the little surprises they hide in there for the games, because, you know, you can ask for something, but even then you'll get a surprise later on that you didn't even know was in the game, which is really cool. So anyway, your goal in this mission is to, of course, get into the launch tower. But before all that, Rocket needs you to retrieve some things. So just like the movie, you will need the guard's security band. And yes, you will need the guy's prosthetic leg. Because, I mean, come on, that was part of the movie. It might seem a bit odd, but it was part of the movie. And I mean, if they don't want to do it, that's perfectly fine. But that was quite a memorable scene in the movie, because everyone was just like, what? Why? Why would he need that? What is it used for? And then in the end, you know, we find out it wasn't used for anything. So, yeah, I think that would be kind of interesting. And, of course, the final thing you need is, of course, the Konix battery, which will require the assistance of Groot to, you know, reach up and grab it. Now, in the actual movie, he pulls the battery out while Quill, Gamora, and Rocket are talking. But I personally think that it should be part of the mission instead. Just because, you know, you start the mission, and then you have, like, at the top, it shows you, like, what you need to find. And you can do it in any in particular order. It does not matter. It's as long as you find them all, that's fine. So I think instead of it starting where Groot pulls the thing out, then, you know, you actually get to do it in the mission. Or maybe they could. I mean, maybe the mission starts with that cutscene of him pulling it out, and that's why the prison is all going crazy, you know, they're all fighting and everything. So either way, I guess it could make sense, but this was just how I wrote it. Now, basically, once you've found all items, you know, once you've acquired them all, you will need Groot to turn himself into a huge scalable branch, allowing you to get inside the watchtower. Now, when I was writing this, I thought this would be pretty cool in the game itself, not just this mission. So, like, in free play, you know, there's certain characters you'll bring back and they'll be able to use certain things that they didn't use in the story. So it'd be pretty cool to see Groot be kind of a helping hand to certain characters in free play. I think that would be quite interesting. And, you know, that is a cool scene in the movie. I love how useful Groot was in this film. James Gunn did a great job with every single character in this film. So, once you're inside the watchtower, you will of course need to survive the missile attacks as well as get Rocket to hack into the system. Now, the way I thought about this is basically, you get inside the watchtower and then you play as Rocket. Well, Rocket, I would say, would be the only smart one to be able to hack stuff. So then you play as Rocket and you hack into the system. And when you're hacking into it, there could be maybe a timer or maybe the health. And basically, if the health runs out, then you failed. Or if the timer runs out, then you failed. So you've got to hack into the system as quickly as possible. So then you can, of course, turn off all the gravity outside, I think it is. Yeah, because everyone starts floating up. So you have to turn off all the gravity outside and keep it inside. And that's what you have to do. Now, that's pretty much the end of the mission, because then, of course, they all fly out with the watchtower. If you could do that in the game, like actually use the watchtower and fly, you know, out of the prison, then I guess that would be pretty cool, but I just don't know if they'll do it. Now, once that is finished, I would expect the mission to end, but here's the thing. I thought it would be pretty cool if we get to be Star-Lord in costume as he goes to try and retrieve his mixtape and Walkman. But the problem I had with that is I don't know who the second player could be. I mean, maybe you could say that Rocket hacked into one of the flying drone things that you'll be fighting and now it's under your control. I'm not really sure. I mean, that would be cool, but it's completely up to TG Games and how they want to handle that. Alright, so last but not least is the final idea for Guardians of the Galaxy, and this is called Taking Down Ronan. The clue is obviously in the name. This whole mission is about you, of course, bringing down Ronan once and for all. Now, in this mission, you play Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket, Groot, and Drax, all in their respective costumes. In the movie, we see that Rocket is mostly flying around, you know, in one of the ships, but I think, you know, since you have to change these things, and maybe he could just be with them, or maybe not. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mainly just wanted to I wanted a mission that would allow you to play with all the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, like a full mission devoted to all those characters. I think that would be really cool. But of course, most of the scenes in this part of the movie involve each of the characters using flight vehicles. I'm not sure if TT Games will be able to create that in the game, but, you know, if they can, then that's great, because of course, yes, they have created flight, you know, sequences a lot in most of their games, like Star Wars and, you know, loads of other ones I can't remember the name of right now. But they have done it before, but I wasn't sure if they'd be able to do all of this. But if they can, then great, because that would be really cool. So anyway, if possible, then the main objective would be to remove 5 hearts of health from the Dark Aster. So basically, you just have to keep shooting it. Just like in the movie, you have to, you'd have to be shooting off enemies, and then of course when you have the time you can shoot the Dark Aster, and then once you remove all of its health, you're free to go inside. Now then, once you are inside the Dark Aster, you will come across Nebula, which will then trigger a short boss battle. This could easily mean taking down 5 or 10 hearts. It doesn't really matter, just as long as it's a fun fight, because I just wanted to throw in a fight with Gamora because I think that would be really cool, and she was an awesome character, and I cannot wait to see where they're going to take her next. Once Nebula has been defeated, you will then run down the hall and find Korath the Pursuer, as well as a bunch of Ronan's goons. This would be another boss battle again, so around 3 boss battles in this mission in particular, because I thought, you know, it would be fun to fight all these key characters in the game. I think that would be pretty interesting. Now then, once both of those people have been defeated, you will make your way around the Dark Aster, taking out any enemies that get in your way, and finally come to the grand finale, Ronan versus the Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's pretty much it, you know, once you've defeated him, that's the end of the mission. I thought what would be cool is, with the end of the mission, maybe there's a dance, you know, just as a reference to the hilarious scenes from the movie with Star-Lord and, of course, the baby pot Groot. And, of course, the huge emphasis on music itself in the actual movie. So I think that would be pretty cool. I wanted to try to be a little more detailed with this mission, but really it's basically just go here, do this, defeat these guys, and then make your way up to Ronan. But I still think it would be an extremely fun mission. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for this video. I mean, sorry this video has been so long. I mean, I've been trying to cut it down, but it's pretty difficult because there's a lot of things I need to explain, especially, you know, with the Iron Man 3 idea and things. I think Thor was the shortest idea I could think of, but, you know, as I went on, they got bigger and bigger and bigger, so sorry if it took too long. But I hope you enjoyed listening to my ideas. You know, if you have any ideas at all, please put them in the comment section below, as I would love to know them. And yeah, guys, I mean, we're going to see our first look at LEGO Marvels Avengers, I believe, next month at E3, so not that long now. Not that long until we can finally see this game in action, which is awesome. Alright guys, so I want to thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for lots more news on LEGO Marvels Avengers, LEGO Jurassic World, LEGO Dimensions, and Disney Infinity 3.0. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.